Senior X30 is up next. Joining me, somebody that started here at this circuit 10 years ago, I believe, Lewis Malin, this weekend, is that right?
Very weekend, as of yesterday, 10 years ago.
So what were you racing then, Minimax was it?
Yeah, Minimax.
And you're racing Senior X30 this weekend. How's things changed over the 10 years?
How they changed? Well, I've evolved a lot as a driver. I've grown up a whole lot. I was quite mature when I first started. I now work in the industry as well, so I understand everything a whole lot better.
How does that help? What's your role?
I build engines for Paul Carr. I mechanic quite a lot for MLC Motorsport as well, working for them on weekends. And it gives you another perspective on everything. You see it from the driver's perspective, and then you also see it from the mechanics and the parents and everyone around it as well.
So you should have a good engine on here then, I'm guessing?
In theory, yeah, but I can't really comment on that, can I?
Okay, well, good luck.
Cheers, thank you.
So hopefully Malin will continue into his second decade in fine form. Sean Butcher and Oliver Hodgson on the front row of the grid from Thomas Turner and Joe Turney, Porter and Hudson, Malin and Laws, and then Matt Armstrong and Derek Morgan rounding out the top 10. Levi King wanting to move forward from the 7th row of the grid. Sky Siddle making good progress to 17th position on the grid for this one, with plenty of drivers trying to fight their way forward. There's a lot of good battles in the field here in Senior X30. Away we go, straight through to the first corner, through Park Bend and up towards Cafe. No change up the front for the moment as Sean Butcher, the Australian, continues to run at the sharp end. The Australian doing a fantastic job, and I can say how good a driver he is. I actually raced him at Wackersdorf on the indoor circuit during that European weekend. So some good battles early doors as they go through Stratford Hairpin. A couple of them running wide, but okay for the moment. Second place, Oliver Hodgson. He's made a cracking start there as he moves himself into second place. Diving his way through to third has come Joe Turney. Already the championship leader perspective is going to have a really exciting run as Hodgson dives at the inside of Butcher. Turney gets there as well. So Hodgson versus Turney can continue this weekend.
That indoor race you had at Wackersdorf there, Jake, against Sean Butcher. Slight power to weight disadvantage for you?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Just a shade.
And we got two carts off there on the far side. Now, who was that we had running wide there on the far side? Two carts going back down the order. I think one of them was Brad Pennell, actually, the number 10, going sideways there. So we'll double check as they come through at the end of the lap. We'll see two carts tumbling a few places down the order, and then we'll know who it is. That is Lewis Malin, battling away there in the mid-pack, and going for the lead is Joe Turney on the inside of Oliver Hodgson. Can he make it through this time by? Yes, he does. No problem at all as he makes his way through.
Two-time Super 1 champion so far, Joe Turney, looking to make that 3 this year as Hodgson comes back up the inside, takes the spot back. Turney is definitely Jake. You know, I'm a karting man. I'm not really that. I don't really follow everything beyond karting in the other formulas. But Turney, just for me, just seems to have that aura that some of the others drive. I think Ravenscroft's got it as well. He just carries himself in such a way that if he was in Formula 1 and he was winning championships in Formula 1, you wouldn't argue, you'd just say, yeah, the guy's got quality, there's no doubt about it. He has got a huge career in front of him, providing he can get the backing. If he can get the backing, I would back him to go all the way and then some. And I've said before, in this paddock, we've got mechanics in this paddock who are former Formula 1 world champions.
Yes.
They weren't actually Formula 1 world champions because they never actually got a chance to sit in a car. Joe Bullen, would he have won Formula 1 World Championship? Craig Copeland, and I could list them. I could list probably 10 or 12 working in the paddock as mechanics that, given the right car in Formula 1, the mindset and the quality of the drivers that they were, could have won a world championship.
If we're going
and this guy, Joe Turney, he's another one.
If we're going to talk about that, you know, there's one guy over at Pierce Sexton Racing as a mechanic who's definitely Colin Brown. Colin Brown, absolutely. You know, he's one of those guys who almost certainly would have been top quality Formula 1. Well, he beat Lewis Hamilton when Lewis Hamilton was coming through, of course. Up the inside, that's Derek Morgan making his magnificent charge through to, what is that now, 3rd position for Derek Morgan. So a very good run that up the inside of Rory Hudson as 5th position. Sean Butcher battles with Morgan Porter, who's having a very good season indeed, Morgan Porter. Meanwhile, Mo Ibrahim has broken himself into the top 20 now. He's gained almost more places than anyone else. Scott Jackson and Sam Stansbury have both made up 9. We've got an off there at Wilkins. Somebody has retired from the fray. So we've had a couple of drivers go off there. I think one of them is actually Alexander Luck, who has dropped a long way down the order. He's still running, actually, but be interesting to see who that is that's off the circuit at Wilkins. Not entirely sure whose car that is. The difficulty is the field are going by so quickly. When you're watching the pictures, you can't see who it is, but Hodgson and Turney still controlling that pace out front, still running a very good race indeed. Morgan in third, Hudson in fourth from Butcher, Porter, Turner, Malin, Robinson and Henry Laws, who I have to say, Henry Laws is having much better luck than we have seen from him through the course of this season. Now, that is a 50-something. It looks like one of the Coles carts, actually, that is off there. I'll double-check who it is when we get an opportunity, but certainly somebody off there. I think that is Levi King, in fact, so he was the one who got brawled up in that incident earlier on with Brad Pennell, so I wonder if he picked up damage as a result of that incident. So unfortunately, with Anna Morris, Alex Luck and Sky Siddle having had their own incidents, they're now a little way off the back of the train. Levi King, sadly, is out of the race, and that is the cart that I think we see parked up at Wilkins. Let's watch as they come through. Hodgson and Turney are there in position. Yeah, that looks to me like that's Levi King's cart, unfortunately parked up at the side of the road. Well, there's a couple of drivers there, actually. Alexander Luck is now no longer circulating, and nor is Sky Siddle, so three drivers in total out of the race. Hodgson leads from Turney, Morgan, Hudson, Butcher, Porter, Thomas Turner and Lewis Malin. Some great racing in Senior X30, but for those two out front, it's business as usual, with Joe Turney trying to stretch out a lead on Oliver Hodgson. And let's not forget that Hodgson, although he is currently showing as 18 points behind Joe Turney in the point standings, they've got an appeal from Lark Hall coming, because Hodgson was excluded from the race at Lark Hall for a technical infringement, and they are appealing that. They're challenging that so that they could get their points back from that victory. So Hodgson has got to race for every single race from now to the end of the season for a victory to get as many points on the board as he can in case that appeal doesn't go his way. Yeah, indeed, and if he does get that decision overturned, he'll be, I think, a comfortable championship leader. Yes, he would be. Morgan Porter, by the way, is the fastest man on the track currently, just at another purple sector. On the last lap, it's 42.78. He's the only one in the 42.7s. Now, the reason that they're contesting that, as far as I gather, is that Oliver Hodgson was docked for having a nose cone fairing penalty. Now, they're arguing that the reason they got the nose cone fairing penalty had nothing at all to do with any contact with any other driver. It was something to do with running over a curb in a certain way or something like that. They're trying to see if the reason these nose cone penalties were brought in, and let's be very clear about this, was to get rid of the loading that we had in British karting and European karting as well. It's done that. And it has done that perfectly. You don't see loading anymore. It never happens, and it was a very good decision. The difficulty is the extenuating circumstances of the grey areas where it's not taken into account. And I was talking to Siobhan Turney, Joe Turney's mum, earlier, and she was saying that, you know, you just want a little bit of common sense. If somebody's leading the race, as we saw at Rowra last year, from start to finish, Hudson, beautiful move by Rory Porter Hudson. Got through as well. Porter got through on Derek Morgan there as well. Great racing. Just to complete what I was saying, we saw somebody lead the race at Rowra, start to finish, never headed, never overtook a back marker, and got a nose cone penalty. And we don't want to see that. I like the nose cones. I think they've been an innovation. They've stopped all the loading, but we need to just get back to a little bit of common sense. The words common sense, not always in the same sentence when it comes to MSA rules and regulations sometimes. Even the officials sometimes think that it's a little bit rigid, but I mean, that particularly, if you've not been headed and you go lights to flag and nobody is ever in front of you and you come in with a nose cone penalty, well, there's just something that's wrong. We don't want to see that. Yeah. Thomas Turner managed to make the move there into fifth position past Derek Morgan through all of that. I know that there's one man in the paddock here this weekend at Shenington who has probably the most unenviable job in the entire paddock, and that is the man who's looking through the cameras, Alan Bryant, who basically looks through all of the camera requests when somebody said he turned into me or he shoved me off the racetrack. That's a very tough job when you've got to look through every incident and you have to take it on face value, and that's a hard job. Particularly when you've got a cheap laptop that John Oil provided. When I told him when we first started doing this, you have to buy the absolute top spec. When I download the footage onto my Mac laptop, when I'm
in not flying the drone.
It's got to be the best.
It goes in quickly, and I can scrub through like butter through the whole thing. I've seen those guys trying to do it. It takes them ages to download it, and then they're having to scrub through, and it just moves in chunks. Not great.
Oh, Hudson defending big style, and Morgan Porter getting very irritated with him there and made the move anyway. So that's a very bold manoeuvre from Morgan Porter, and that has put Rory Hudson down to about 7th position. I think Turner got through, Morgan got through, and Sean Butcher got through. Now, question, was that a little bit of a nudge to get him out of the way?
I tell you what, my driver would have been nudging him out of the way with over 3 minutes on the clock defending into the hairpin. A few years ago, by the way, the officials started jumping on that. They said you'll get one, if you start defending before the last lap, you'll get one warning. Do it again, you'll get a penalty, 10-second or a black flag.
Oh, and that's Sky
that
Siddle
seems to have stopped.
Out of the race, unfortunately. Oh, it's her car that's parked up at the side of the road, unfortunately. Well, we knew that Levi King was out of the race, but Sky Siddle, sadly, the 53, and that's a disappointment because she was really very strong indeed this weekend. She's had a very good manoeuvre to move herself into the top 20 in the final earlier on, and that was the best result she's had in Super 1 in Senior X30. Was speaking to her earlier in the weekend. She's loving Super 1. She loves the challenge of it. It's the best racing she's ever done as far as she's concerned. She wants to stick at it.
You know what I like about that? She's not had the best season.
No, indeed.
I remember I said to her, come and have a go. Last year, she came and had a go at PF. Didn't make it out the B final. No. Saw them after that, her and her dad, and I thought, that's not great.
But they were buzzing,
enjoy the weekend. But they loved it. And the fact that she's enjoying the experience this year, not having the best results, is fascinating to me, and
Morgan
I like to hear that.
Up the inside of Turner and gets the move into 4th position. Absolutely brilliant move there, considering that was off the back of the hairpin. Had to keep the momentum flowing, so Morgan gets up past the O-plate Thomas Turner, and we're now getting into the closing stages of this Senior X30 final. Now the big question is going to be Hodgson versus Turney. How is this going to go? Because Joe Turney is currently the championship leader, and even if he stays in 2nd place, will remain so. From Hodgson's point of view, if he's got this appeal coming, he's going to want to keep on banging in those victories to gain as much ground as he can in case it isn't overturned, as Butcher dives up the inside of Thomas Turner and takes the place. Hodgson versus Turney. This could get spicy because these two really want to go for the victory.
Exactly, and Turney's experienced enough to know there's an appeal going on. He has to assume when he's racing that appeal will be upheld. So he'll have his exclusion overturned, and that will change the points dynamic. So Turney's experienced enough to know that. You just have to assume that when somebody's going for an appeal, they're going to win that appeal. We also lost in this race, Jack. You should mention Alexander Luck, and Alan Morris has had a problem as well.
Yeah,
she's been lapped by the leaders.
She's dropped a long way down. I think she got involved in somebody else's incident earlier on in the race, and that's a shame. I was talking to her briefly over the weekend as well, and she said it's been a frustrating season. We've moved into the Jade Racing team, and while the team are doing an absolutely fantastic job, we've just had absolutely no luck. We've ended up in other people's misdemeanors, and for whatever reason, we ended up usually getting to be the ones spat out to the scenery, which is a real shame because that's the difficulty when you know your team is doing a perfect job, when they're doing everything they could possibly do, and there's not much really in it. You know, there's a lot to be said for it. We're into the last lap, and Hodgson versus Turney. Turney's through! He did make the move on the inside, so he left it till the last possible moment to surge up the inside. He's got that job done, and now he's having to play defensive from Hodgson. Who's that in front of them that could cause a bit of an issue? I think that is Gregorio Perez, who they are closing up to lap. And up the inside, Turney is defending valiantly to Oliver Hodgson. Can he hang on to it? He dives for that inside line through Hanger Corner. I'm not sure that Hodgson's going to have a bat to eyelid on the inside. Can he make the move?
He's not going to let him down the inside, that's for sure.
Joe Turney's got this. Absolutely brilliant. Out of the final turn and over the line. It's going to be close. Hodgson to the right, but Joe Turney's pipped him. Absolutely brilliant. Right at the bitter end. Although according to the timing screen I've got in front of me, they say it's Hodgson by 9/100 of a second. I think that's incorrect. I think it's Joe Turney who's done it. Yes, it's overturned. Look, Joe Turney has got the job done. Porter in 3rd from Derek Morgan. Butcher in 5th. Turner in 6th from Malin, Laws, Hudson and Matt Armstrong. Joe Turney wins by 7/100. Well, Joe, Senior X30 was always going to be down to the wire, but that was particularly close call this time.
Yeah, definitely. It was me and Ollie managed to get a big gap. And then, yeah, it was just a bit of a last lap lunge up the inside, and he left a cart length gap, so I tried to fill it and it worked.
This is one of those championships where you drop the ball in any one moment over the course of the weekend and the other two guys are going to take up the pieces. So this was obviously an important one to score as many points as possible.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I got 2 seconds and a fourth over the weekend, which wasn't bad, but I still lost valuable points. And then in the final, we had to make some back, and I tried to, and it worked.
This is going to go down to the wire, isn't it? I can just sense it might do.
Yeah, I think so. We got GYG next. That should be close. So yeah, PF's definitely going to be a big race.
Well, we'll see you in Wales. Have a great break, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
22 points cover the top 3. The championship will be fought between Turney, Porter and Hodgson, with Turner in 4th and Malin chasing in 5th. We'll finish up with TKM Extreme.